Gentlemen, day after day, visuals are trickling out of China, breaching the Iron Curtain, reaching the world. The information is alarming. The truth is coming out. The COVID threat in China is much, 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 much worse than what Jinping has been projecting. Let's debate.
In China, nearly 37 million people may have been infected with COVID in just a single day. And this is sanitized data coming out of Xi Jinping's government. The actual numbers may be much, much higher. Today, social media is flooded with images of people being dragged for COVID tests. Hospitals packed with people on ventilators. Floors of hospitals covered with victims. Mountains of dead bodies. Overcrowded hospitals. And overwhelmed funeral homes. These visuals on your screen are those that the Chinese don't want the world to see. Beijing endangered the world once by suppressing the truth about what happened in Wuhan. But no matter how much China tries to censor the COVID reality,
中方始终本着负责任的态度，同世卫组织和国际社会分享有关信息，愿继续同国际社会团结合作，更好地应对疫情挑战。
The world is not going to take Chinese claims at face value this time around.
It's difficult to make that assessment, as Dr. Tedros has said. We don't have complete knowledge of the impact. There are many anecdotal reports around pressure on the health system, infectious disease clinics filling up, emergency rooms filling up, and even ICUs filling up in certain situations, and lots of anecdotal reports of occupational data suggesting that many people are off work at the moment.
It's time for China to reveal the real COVID truth. Let's debate.
Abhishek's joining me on this debate, and Abhishek, maybe you can throw the first question before we go to Andrew KP Leung and Victor Gao and Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. Maybe you can throw the first question to Dr. Li-Man Yang, who's a very well-known independent virologist joining us from New York, on her sense of what the picture is in China.
Now, my question is, Arnab, to put the debate on its head and ask, is there some Western propaganda involved, or are we really looking at a serious situation in China? Because China remains an opaque society as always. Yeah. We don't know whom to believe, whom not to believe, given the fact that the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, again, I think third or fourth time in this week, mentioned that everything is under control. Yeah. So what's really happening? Can someone from New York really throw light on that?
Dr. Li-Man Yang, that question is to you.
Hi, thank you for having me. First, yes, Chinese Communist Party government still cover up the information as what they have done in Wuhan in early 2020, and also as what they have done as usual. So the thing is, the outbreak in China now is getting worse and worse. Just based on the data from China CDC, already over 200 million Chinese people get infected. However, we know the reality is not is far more than that, because we know that the hospital are not allowed to give the pathogen tests, and also hospital is overloaded, people have no drugs, so there is no way for you to get the real information and data. Clearly, China doesn't want you to know what is circulating in China now and how severe it is. But based on the feedback from I collected, that the things get worse, and also the symptom is very severe compared to the common Omicron symptoms. And that's definitely not because of lifting the zero COVID policy, and not because of the coverage of vaccination.
Yeah. So, Andrew, hear that? Andrew? Victor? Do you have Andrew or Victor? Can the producers tell me if I have Andrew or Victor?
Yes.
Andrew,
yeah.
Andrew, you heard Dr.
You want me to respond?
Yeah, I want you to respond, but I just want to add one sentence before that, you know, the information is just spilling over out here. And I think
I
think China should be honest with the world and not do the same thing which it did in 2020. not try to cover this up. This is international ramifications.
All right. Well, what I can say is that there is a great deal of misunderstanding of what the dynamic zero policy is all about. It's not about achieving zero cases in all circumstances. It is an attempt to ensure earliest possible detection, earliest possible
What are the numbers in China, Andrew?
earliest possible cure, and earliest possible
What are the numbers in
prevention.
China, Andrew? Can we get a sense of that? What is your information?
Can I finish? Otherwise, I'll never be able to come to the point, okay, if you keep on interrupting me. Please. Now, as at January this year, according to an independent, world-renowned research institution based in New York, the Edelman Trust
So you quoted that the last time, but...
they found that of all the countries surveyed, as regards people's support of the government in management of the pandemic, China came on top. Please answer the present question. How many people are infected in China today?
It's 3 years. Is Victor Gao hearing me? How many people are infected in China today? Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, I need some straight answers here, sir. Please tell me how many people are infected in China today. Victor, are you there?
Yeah.
Because can you please answer? I think we are alarmed. I don't think you understand, Andrew, that this is not your problem alone. The last time you hid the information, it hit the world.
I know.
This is Victor. Do you talk to
yes,
me?
Victor. Yeah, Victor. Go on.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I think China is in the middle of this major transition, and the transition period involves a lot of uncertainty and high risks. Right now, there are no fixed numbers. I think the government numbers are very unreliable because the definitions and the guidelines keep changing. And then you need to gather information from different provinces.
But Victor, we had information, there are reports of nearly 37 million people in China being infected with COVID in a single day. So if that is the...
I would say...
No, if that is the situation, you can't hide it from the world.
No, it's not hiding from the world. I think the number of positive cases must be horrendous, and there is an increasing number of deaths being reported by different cities. All these numbers, the data need to be gathered and channeled all the way up to the national government for eventual release.
Shahzad.
Yeah, Arnab, can I come in?
Yeah, okay, Sanjeev Bagai wants to come in. He's yes, Sanjeev.
Yeah, Arnab, good evening, everyone. So if you go through the last 2.5, 3 years, I think the entire edifice of the Chinese stories with regards COVID-19 is based on false narrative and lies. They failed to inform the world in time. The initial first few cases were in end 2019. The WHO announced the pandemic in February, and then India went into a lockdown on 24th of March, pan-India. But the fact is that the early warning signs were there. They allowed their laborers to go into Italy. Italy got devastated, Spain, UK, and then the rest of the world. The fact of the matter is there is no true, authentic, reliable data which China gives out. We don't know the number of mutations in the last 2 to 3 years. We don't know the true case fatality. The way they gauge the deaths which are related to COVID is only unique to them. Their vaccines to begin with were substandard. I don't know why WHO actually allowed them. The vaccines in a multicentric 68 randomized controlled trials data, which has shown now the efficacy to Omicron new sublineages to be below 20%. They have failed not only the citizens, they have failed the world. The world has got fooled once, but I dare say we are not going to get fooled again. China has to be made accountable financially, medically, economically,
that's
and every
my point. I throw this because we have limited time. I also want to bring in the BJP spokesperson on this. Yes, please. Shehzad. We're not getting a clear answer. What are the ramifications?
Arnab, you know, the diagnosis of the problem of the Chinese is not actually medical, it's actually political. They are suffering from a political virus, and that political virus needs to be diagnosed. It's no longer time for Chinese whispers, it's time for Chinese confessions. And Andrew, you should ask the Chinese leadership that, look, they had imposed a draconian lockdown. They went for a faulty policy of zero COVID. Then they had a dud of a vaccine, the Sinopharm vaccine. Then they had fake data to top it all up. And thereafter, you had opaque systems, and you only used it to crack down on people. And instead of focusing on the priorities, all you did was focus on trying to irk India, trying to form a friendship with Pakistan and trying to expand. This is the problem.
Victor, let's go to Victor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think, first of all, I hope the international community will do its best to understand the situation in China, but also be sympathetic.
What is the situation in China? To understand, Victor, can you come in on debate with Dr. Li Wenyan?
Yes.
See, I'm very clear about this. Abhishek will take this forward. No, 1 minute, sir. Victor, 1 minute. See, Abhishek, the Chinese say understand the situation in China.
Yeah.
But Dr. Li Wenyan, do we know? To understand, we first need to know what the situation in China is. Are they sharing that with us? Dr. Yan?
We of course demand the truth. Unfortunately, once Chinese Communist Party control China, there is no truth. It happens in the last 3 years, and also it happened in China's history for over 70 years. China now is using everything as a weapon to attack the world, including their own citizens, because they know their own citizens demand for freedom now. That really is a threat to Chinese Communist Party's control. And what I can tell you is you cannot expect truth at this moment, because China even don't count the patient as a number. They even don't give you the viral sequence test. Is this BF7 or not? We don't know. And we only know is what they are lying to us. And also, I have to tell you, no matter who you invited, Professor Victor or Professor Andrew, and they seems very clearly understand the propaganda from Chinese Communist government. So they need to memorize that, and you cannot expect the truth from their mouths because they are propagandists. And the propagandists are also the tools and weapons from Chinese Communist Party to the world.
Victor.
Yes. First of all, allow me to make several very basic points. For the past 3 years, the dynamic zero COVID policy in itself was very successful in minimizing deaths and the infections among the Chinese people. But there is a huge cost. Starting from the end of last October, China decided to make a shift to minimizing deaths and infections to achieving two goals. That is, minimizing deaths and infections on the one hand, but also achieving normal life and economic activities, just like the rest of the world. We are in this transition. Now, for Ms. Yang to say things like that, I really hold it as very regrettable, because she is not reflecting the realities on the ground. I'm not a propagandist. I'm an independent opinion maker with a large following in China and in the world. So for a lady like that to put words into my mouth, I feel very much ashamed of herself. Secondly,
they should be ashamed
in the
about
new
the
paradigm, for the new paradigm, China needs to live with the virus. For the past 3 years, China does not want to live with the virus.
No, 1 minute. Victor, I think your attack on Dr. Li Wenyan is unfortunate.
A tentative number of the kind of infection that the Chinese are facing these days per day. You know, there is, for example, a Twitter thread which says that many senior officials of the Chinese Communist Party are infected, and there is a death that has happened in the China People's Daily in the newsroom at the senior level. We get all kind of information, but no clarification from the Chinese state as to what exactly is the situation, so that if we are forewarned, we are forearmed. Something which did not happen in the first wave coming out from China. Victor, you can help us at least understand what the gravity of the situation, so that we are,
instead of attacking Dr. Yan.
I'm not
I
attacking
think Victor
anyone.
cannot tell you more
make an
about
opinion.
truth.
Well, Dr. Yan wants to say something to you, Victor.
Expressed on your platform need to be accurate.
No, Dr. Yan wants to say, no, you are not being accurate. You're not even given a vague generalization. All I'm seeing is videos of patients collapsing on doors of hospitals all over China. 1 minute. No, 1 minute. Let's get Dr. Yan to respond to that. I mean, Dr. Yan, he and the entire Chinese establishment just won't tell us how many cases there are. This is not how democracies and transparent countries work, but of course, China isn't a transparent country, isn't a democracy. Would you like to say something to Dr. Victor Gao, who said he was ashamed of what you said?
Oh, because Prof. Victor Gao is a former diplomat who is trained by CCP for long and behave as a CCP member to cheat the world in his life. So we should not expect those kind of truths come out from his mouth. This is just a fact, very unfortunately. And what I want to tell people is the death number and also the case, the detailed information China will never give you, because to hide everything up will reduce the chance people find out the fabrication from the information. So they just cover it up, and you don't get number, you don't get detail. So that's what happened now.
Well, we're keeping a close tab on this. It's very difficult to get information coming out of China, but we had these reports today, the Bloomberg report, which said 37 million people may have been infected with COVID on a single day this week. And if that is the situation, and if 18% of the population has contracted the virus in the first 20 days of December, then, ladies and gentlemen, we are concerned about the spillover, and we have right to be concerned about the spillover. Following that, tracking every story with our reporters in India and around the world. I shall see you soon. Have a fantastic weekend. Only for tonight. Good night and goodbye.
हमने कहा अपने बेटा बेटी को कि नौकरी कर लो उधर ही। अब इंडिया में माहौल नहीं रह गया, तुम लोग झेल पाओगे या नहीं झेल पाओगे।
Says India is not livable.